Good morning, everyone. Arthur Hammer here. Just got done training for the day, showered up and everything, and I got asked a really interesting question today at the gym. And it was from a newer lifter, and they were asking me, what should I focus on in the gym? And that was a very interesting, insightful question to me. That's something that I think we should all be asking ourselves. I mean, we have a limited amount of effort that we can exert to things, a little bit of time, and what should we spend that time and effort trying to do so that we get the best results from our lifting journey? And I believe that answer can be divided into focusing on different things as a novice, an intermediate, and also as an advanced lifter. So today in this video, we're going to try and answer that question. Being a novice is a really exciting time. You're making the most gains, you're trying something new that you don't have a lot of experience with yet, but it's also the time in which your focus should be the simplest. A novice should be focused on three things: basic movements, progressive overload, and proper nutrition. Now, if a novice focuses on those three things, they should be fairly set throughout their novice journey. By focusing on basic movements like the bench press, the overhead press, deadlift, squat, barbell rows, and not getting super complicated, not trying to do one-legged Bosu ball deadlifts with a cable in one hand and a band in another, then they should be on the right track. They're developing the movement patterns that are going to help them the most in the long run, and they're also making sure that the muscles that they're going to be using the most are being trained efficiently, like those movements are designed to do. Next, they need to be focusing on progressive overload, making sure that they're adding weight from week to week. A novice is a great time to get a lot of strength in a short period of time. It doesn't take a lot to stimulate a novice to grow, so you want to take advantage of that. It's great to be a novice. Stay being a novice for as long as you can. I believe Mark Ripito wrote an article entitled something along the lines of "Who wants to be a novice? You do." When you're a novice, getting stronger is as simple as adding weight to the bar week after week. Maybe doing another rep, maybe just adding a 2.5, but just doing a little bit more, and your body should respond to that very well from training session to training session. The overall recovery from your training is going to be very effective and in a very short time span. So you don't have to worry about blocking out your training program weeks or months or even years at a time. You can take it training session to training session and get very effective gains from that. Lastly, one thing that novices should focus on that gets overlooked probably the most is nutrition. When you're a novice, there's so many exciting things out there available to you. You're trying pre-workout for the first time and you're getting those feels all over your body. You're going to be looking at different supplements and you're looking at different programs and things that get pushed in the magazines. But oftentimes the thing that gets overlooked the most is what's going to be the most effective for you. A novice should be looking at eating clean, healthy, whole foods in appropriate amounts. That means a lot of meat, dairy, whatever it takes to get the protein in, and be eating in such a way to fuel your gains. It is hard to grow. It is hard to get stronger if you're in a calorie deficit. So eat enough to make the most of your novice gains. By focusing on those basic lifts, progressive overload, and appropriate nutrition, you should be set as a novice and your focus is in the right place. Being an intermediate is a very difficult stage. For the first time, you're plateauing. Your lifts aren't going up, and getting stronger isn't as simple as adding weight or eating more food or training more frequently. You've got to learn how to solve the puzzle of yourself, figuring out what's working well for you, what isn't, and how do I get past those plateaus. The focus in your intermediate stage should be on three things: volume management, fatigue management, and weak point development. By focusing on those three things, those are going to be your most effective tools in solving puzzles related towards how do you make your next PR. The first one, volume management, is going to be difficult for some people. It means not necessarily just adding more weight to the bar week to week, but maybe adding more sets or an extra training day. Some people like keeping their frequency when training fairly low, so they add in a lot of volume on a single day. Other people, such as myself, prefer training the same lift multiple times in a week, but that means that we don't add in so much volume that we can't recover within the same week for the next training period. But you have to add volume in order to stimulate the muscle, in order to make sure that it grows, that it gets stronger, increase that cross-sectional area of the muscle, and also increase the neural efficiency of the muscle. The next thing is managing fatigue. When you're adding more muscle, when you're adding more volume, you're doing more damage and there's more to recover from. So you've got to understand that's not just what you do in the gym that's important, but also what you do outside of the gym. How much time do you take between training days? Are you foam rolling? Are you getting massages? Are you sleeping enough? What are you doing for your health, for your joint health, for your muscle growth, and everything in between to make sure that you're able to recover effectively from everything that you throw at your body? And by managing fatigue properly, that goes hand in hand with volume development. When you optimize your fatigue management, you should both be optimizing your volume management as well. The last thing is one thing that's kind of tricky within the intermediate stage, but also something that's very effective, and that is weak point development. As you start hitting plateaus, you start noticing where you're lagging on certain lifts. Maybe you're lacking, a little bit of leg drive or hip drive when it comes to your push press. Or maybe you have difficulty getting off the ground into deadlift, but you can knock out anything that you break off the ground. Well, if you identify those points, there are very active ways that you can work against them. If you struggle with lockouts, add chains. If there's a specific point that you're noticing you're struggling at, do lockouts from that position. There are simple things that you can do to develop those weak points. And it's easier to bring up lifts when you identify where those weak points are. From a business perspective, these are called bottlenecks. And if you widen the bottleneck, you make the entire process go much more smoothly. So identify your weak points. Is it your triceps? Is it just your speed? Is it your mentality? Focus on those and apply most of your efforts to those, and you'll see development start growing once again. So once again, by going over volume management, fatigue management, and weak point development, you should be set as an intermediate. Advanced strongmen, advanced powerlifters, they're the elite. And what does it take to be the best once you're already the elite? It's very hard to decide what that's going to be. And the truth of the matter is that focus will change from lifter to lifter. But what I can say unifies a lot of these advanced lifters is the ideas of specificity, specialization, and longevity. Focus on these three things are unified between people across the elite of many different sports. So first, let's talk about specificity. Say you're a powerlifter. What are you devoting most of your effort to once you're at this stage? Is it the squat, the bench, and the deadlift? If not, you're not specific enough in order to be doing the best at your sport that you possibly can. As a strongman, you need to be familiar with events. I did a prior video about building your base. If you've already developed your base, you need to start focusing on specific events and the efficiency in those events. How quickly are you loading stones? How quickly are you moving with a yoke? What can you do to be more efficient at this event and that? When you're focusing on that and demanding that most of your effort gets concentrated in those areas, then once again are you at the optimal training focus of what you should be doing as an advanced lifter. The next thing you need to be talking about is specialization. And specialization is a little bit tricky. It means sacrificing a little bit of effort in certain lifts. For example, say you're trying to bring up a lagging deadlift as a power lifter. You can't expect, once you're at the advanced level, to bring up both your deadlift and your squat at the same time. Something's got to give, and you've got to program out and understand that one will stall and maybe even lag a little bit as you're developing the other, but this is necessary in order to get to those goals. Your body is getting taxed severely every single time you train, so you need to focus more recovery effort towards those training days and that effort. Some things need to be set aside. Look at the small off program. The small off program is designed to build a monster squat, but what does it do for deadlift? If you are focusing so much on squat, something's got to give somewhere, and in this case, it's the deadlift. Or if you do like I did and did the smaller for deadlift program, my squat stagnated a lot. It didn't grow one bit. So my deadlift increased in terms of work capacity, but that was a choice and a sacrifice I had to make. You have to be able to make intelligent sacrifices to specialize. The last thing you should focus on is an advanced lifter is that of longevity. Time in the sport is important, and staying healthy even more so. Everyone's about to get injured if you're dedicating yourself to a sport and training at such a level that you're serious about it and you're making progress and the sacrifices necessary to do so. But that's not something you should look forward to or even accept as an inevitability. You need to fight those. You need to stay healthy for as long as you can. And when you get injured, you need to understand what are the intelligent steps in order to make sure that you get back in that sport as quickly as possible. Read Dave Tate's book, Raising the Bar and also Under the Bar, and it talks about getting past those points. There are lifters out there and they get injured, but they come back. Don't be one of those people who got injured once and that was the end of their career. Ask, how long will this one take? Ask, what do I do to fix it? Ask, how do I get back in the most efficient way? And let that be the fire underneath you. I've been injured many times in the past, and the most important lessons I've learned is that you can come back. If you have bad days, you can come back. If you have a pulled muscle, you can come back. Whatever you're going through, I'm not saying that you ever recover 100%, but fight. Fight as much as you can to always be making progress. So as an advanced lifter, there are going to be varied focuses. People have their different approaches to what they think will make them the best of the best. But I can say with a relative degree of confidence that if you make sure that you're training specifically for your sport, if you're developing a strategy that specializes your weak areas or makes you the most competitive in your sport, and you're also focusing on longevity, then you have the right focus as an advanced lifter.